basically before we start, instead of just kind of like everybody like going through like their own round by round of regionals, we were just gonna kind of like throw out like a question, maybe directed at one person, but feel free to like interject. So if I'm like, Kyle, how'd you like play test and chip for regionals? Like when he starts talking, there's like a point you want to jump on. You can just get really excited and zoom in, and then just jump in.
So interrupt people a lot.
And
That's what I'm expecting.
So that's one.
all right, I mean, I guess that's basically it. So.
Wait, is this on YouTube or no one's watching this right
Yeah,
now?
it's YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just gonna put it up on YouTube because we weren't sure how smoothly it was gonna go the first time. But then, like in the future, if it takes off, we might stream shit and stuff like that.
Cool.
Okay.
Great.
All right. So, Frank, like, how did your weekend go? I heard you won regionals. You got first with a deck that wasn't Yveltal. Like,
King of Canada now, I think.
That's how it works. Yeah.
I don't know. So how'd you like decide your deck? Like, you played Yveltal pretty much all season. So what made you switch? Like, what went through your mind? Like when Shaman and like the new set came out. Like, how was like your playtesting process?
Well, I figured Shaman made like dark decks bad, and so I had to find something else. And VG seemed like it had like an answer to everything because whatever they are doing, you just G booster and then you win. And so I figured I'd go with that. Throw in some cards to try to help beat like bad matchups, counter stadiums, because a lot of your bad matchups are like Raichu or colorless Rayquaza, so if you can play counter stadium, you can like shore up your bad matchups. And so I went with that. I didn't do as much testing as I wanted to. I figured that between regionals and nats, I would test the deck a bunch more. But I think with the trump card ban that I'm sure we're gonna talk about a lot about, like I don't really think it's that viable anymore. But I'm glad I squeezed points out of it while I could.
Yeah, we're gonna go over the trump card ban and all that after that. But like, I mean, Kyle and Ryan like obviously didn't, and like me like didn't think Rizzy and Genesect was gonna be a thing at all. Like we just thought Rayquaza. At least I just thought like Rayquaza beat it. Like because you guys picked like Groudon for regionals and I picked Groudon for regionals. Like
Literally the only decks I expected to see were Toad and Rayquaza. And I was like, if we beat those, I don't care about any other matchup. I don't care about anything. I'm just going to play Groudon, have Wobbuffet out, and just wreck everyone in the face. I don't care.
Yeah, I was so excited to play against Toad decks all day.
How many Toad decks did you see again?
0.
In a 9
all
rounds.
in 9 rounds. I hit none. I made day
it's his
2,
fault.
but
It's his fault.
Table.
I don't know how.
So I show up in Canada, and so obviously Andrew Estrada's there because he goes to every event in all of Canada, and he was also playing VG, and we were both playing Ninetales in it.
Uh-huh.
And so it was just weird that like among like competitive players who showed up, such a high percentage were VG. Just a few players happen to choose it, and they come up with the same like counter to the top decks. It was I don't know. It was interesting to show up, and then round 1 I was sitting right next to him, and I see him playing very similar deck to mine.
You're just thinking that you're going to be the only one there who made that decision, and then you see someone else like verify your choice. Like, Dylan verified my deck choice after, like, I was 4-0, I'm looking over, I'm like, oh, he's got a Dragonite in it, and he's doing just as well. So I'm like, I guess I did all right.
You were halfway there.
Yeah, I almost did it.
What about you, Simon? Did you, like, test, like, the new set extensively, or did you just kind of, like, go with something you were comfortable with and, like, add in Shaman, or...?
I was really excited about Rayquaza, like colorless Rayquaza, and the whole engine with Shaman. So that's what I tested extensively, but kept getting absolutely destroyed by Seismitoad, so I switched to Seismitoad at the last minute. I expected there to be like a tremendous amount of item lock decks, which there were. I figured if I just put Garbodor in my Seismitoad deck, I'd be pretty balanced against the metagame, and I think I was. So
You weren't like worried about playing like Seismitoad versus Seismitoad at all, because like a lot of people like are turned off from that matchup because they feel like it's very luck based, just very.
I think that it is very luck based.
Okay.
I didn't do anything really fancy for that. I was just like, I'm gonna face some 50-50s. I'm gonna throw in a 0-sick and 2 flare grunt and call it a day.
Just quaking punch them first and harder. Hard quaking punch.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, worked out.
Like going into day 2, like I know for like our Georgia regionals, like Ryan and Kyle and I just kind of talked to everybody and nobody really seemed like they tested it for extended at all. Did any of you guys prepare for day 2 at all, or it was just kind of like
Not even.
No.
Okay, so I had a little bit of a different experience because in Canada, so in Alberta, the event was all one day. So we got to the end of Swiss and they post pairings, or they post like standings, and you see that you're in top 8, and they're like, okay, half hour from now, everyone turn in a deck.
I think you guys got home at like lunch. Didn't you? You guys got on your plane at like 3 o'clock and got to go home. You were good.
Well, no, we booked it as though it was an event, so we were just chilling the whole, like, all day Sunday. We were just hanging out.
Yeah.
So it was like a super, like, quick scramble with everyone trying to, I don't know. So it was only a top 8 cut. It wasn't like the top 32, and it was a lot of like we've seen at other regionals where like your top 8 opponent.
Yeah, so you're just trying to figure out how to beat them too, but not like completely screw yourself for the rest of the top 4. Like when you get there.
I don't like
Yeah.
how much of a micro metagame like thing that is.
How do you think Dylan won New England? That's exactly he played Manectric Agislash. That's all he did. He looked at everyone. He's like, they're all gonna lose to this shit.
You're playing. I don't know. If you're playing, you guys are dead.
So like it was Andrew Estrada and I in top 8, and we're both thinking what's the other guy gonna play, and we're in the hotel because it's in the venue. We're both on the second floor. We both like run up to the second floor. Everyone, the entire top 8 was on the second floor of this hotel, scrambling to the car, like right down the hall from each other, and so I Andrew, I'm like, hey, you probably want to play VG. You played VG during Swiss. That's all you ever play. Like, let's just both agree to play VG and just move on with our lives. And he's like, I don't really want to do that. Let's just all agree not to play Roaring Skies. And everyone was like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't have any non-Roaring Skies stuff built. So, we go into, like, different hotel rooms, and everyone is scrambling. And I ended up building an entire, like, Seismitoad deck with like Musharna and stuff, and it was actually pretty good. And I wrote out the whole full deck list for VG and for Seismitoad, and I'm sitting at like where we have to go to turn in deck list, just trying to come up with something. And I figured I knew VG a little better. I'd been playing it. I felt like if I switched and did poorly, I would be like disappointed in myself for like freaking out and not just going with what I knew. So I did swap out a couple cards for VG, put in Sky Arrows and stuff, and I just went with it. He ended up playing Dark, so I think both both decks would be like kind of like 50-50-ish against him, so it just didn't end up mattering. It was a lot of work for nothing, but I don't know. I hope we get a different system for next year, or at least maybe tell us who the top 8 are, but
don't pair.
Not the order.
Start, and then it's less of like. Less of just trying to figure out what one person is trying to play and countering one person.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been playing a Pokemon a long time. It's never been like that. So it's just a weird, different thing now.
Well, to me, I'd feel like if you're in top 8 and you already made it, you should just not even make it extended at that point. You should just stick with the exact same decks that you have going into top 8, because that would be somewhat like. But that's I guess that's even, because you know what each other's playing, because you saw each other do it on like to get to where you're at in top 8, but to just have like zero knowledge, but the person, and so if someone favors a certain deck as opposed to another one, like everyone knew as soon as I went in Massachusetts, they were like, oh, he's playing Flygon, don't worry about that, just play something that beats Flygon, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's adorable. And then like I was like, should I like try to be cute and switch it up on him? And I was like, no, don't do that. And they're like, oh, all right. And I got bodied by fairies with like 3 AZs, 3 max potions, and then 4 wonder energies. And I was like, oh yeah, it's not happening. So
I don't know. I kind of like that idea better. But like, if it's like enough people for top 32, you do extend it. But then otherwise, you do top 8 and you stick with the same deck, because that kind of like goes along with what Frank and Russell said. Otherwise, somebody like who's like really good at math can maybe like figure out like people's like win percentages and kind of have a good idea of who they are going to play against, even if they don't post it.
Yeah.
But if you're down to, like, if you narrow, like, let's say you narrow it down to 2, that's still not enough.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, it's still not enough. I don't know. I feel like, but even then, it's like you're making a whole new deck for like 3 games potentially, maximum. It seems kind of silly. I don't know. I guess different people have different opinions on it. Maybe some people like the whole micro metagame thing, but I think everybody just doesn't test extended just because it's such a small part of the format.
I think it's fun when you're not a part of it. Like, I would have loved to witness everybody run around frantically. That sounds great, but I would not want to be one of the people.
Was that like in a period of 30 minutes?
Saying that.
What's that?
Was that like...
I've been recording the whole time.
Frank's kind of cutting out when he's talking, and then we can just hear Russell laughing, and then it just moves the camera to Russell, and all we see is Russell just like giggling and looking at somebody.
Supposed to be talking.
So,
like literally, Russell's giggles are louder than Frank's.
Louder than Frank's muffle. Like,
am I really quiet? I don't know.
It just like cuts out a little bit.
You keep cutting in and out, and so.
It's just on my phone, so it's. I mean, that's probably understandable.
We're doing the best we can.
I totally didn't prepare for this. I'm still like weird jet lagged, and so I woke up literally 15 minutes before like we started doing this, and I just happened to wake up. I could just as easily have just slept. It worked out.
Like,
whoa. Hey,
all right,
you back?
I think it works.
Hey.
We got frozy for a second.
Okay. I mean, I think before, though, Frank got interrupted. We were just, like, me and Kyle were just, like, imagining what it was like to frantically look through cards for 30 minutes. Was it really, like, 30 minutes to run to your hotel, build a deck, fill out a deck list, and come downstairs?
So, they told us, like, exactly 30 minutes. It was, I think it was 5:45 at night by the time we got, like in the evening, by the time we got done with Swiss, and they were like, okay, by 6:15, hand in a deck list. But it gets to, so we're all up in the hotel room, trying to figure it out, and one hotel room has like each hotel room has like 3 or 4 people that are in cut. But those guys are all on the opposite side of the bracket, so I'm not really gonna worry. But also we're kind of just watching each other make decks.
Yeah.
And I don't know any of the people. I just showed up. I'm in Canada. I don't know any of the people. They just let me in their hotel room. Let me borrow cards. Just people I'd met during the day. They were super nice. It was super nice of them to do that. But I don't know. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking what if they're all just freaking me, and then they're just watching me make my deck, and they're just this idiot. We're just gonna
Pyroar.
Then I asked somebody, I kept asking what time it was, and it's 6 o'clock. Oh, it's 6:05. Then one time I asked somebody, and they're like, oh, it's 6:15. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go downstairs. I'm gonna go, guys. It's 6:15. And I get downstairs, and one person has handed in their deck. Because also we were kind of thinking hey, we have 4 of the top 8 in this room.
They can't stop you. Yeah.
They're go ahead, disqualify. Between 2 hotel rooms, we have 6 out of the top 8. Go ahead and disqualify 6 people. You won't.
They have a finals.
Yeah, and so I show up downstairs. One person has handed in their deck. I'm still trying to finish writing a deck list, and so they're just yeah, no, just keep going. And so I wrote out deck lists and stuff, and I think by the time everyone kind of trickled in, it was closer to an hour later. It was another half hour by the time everyone actually handed in decks and deck lists. So it was a mad scramble. It really was hey, let's go now.
Dang, that sounds completely awful. I couldn't take
It
that.
sounds completely unreasonable. It's almost like you had to come to the tournament with 2 decks prepared on the off chance that you make top 8.
I
Yeah.
heard worse at like a previous regional in Canada that they gave them literally 15 minutes, and like that was it.
Oh my god.
And so when I heard a half hour, I was like, yeah, now I have all kinds of time. I can build a whole different deck and then just completely not play it. And just go with the thing I've been playing.
Can't imagine having a deck in 15 minutes, man.
Yeah, I was just kind of, some of this, some of that.
Yeah.
Oh, you got, trainer mail over there. I'll grab some of those. Yeah, that seems like a okay number. I don't know.
All right, guys, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked out, so.
Worked out for me. If I didn't win, I'd probably be like sitting here angry, like, oh man, I can't believe this happened. This was so terrible.
Triumph through the chaos. I don't know, Simon. What was your day 2 like? Were you more prepared than we were, and sure it was less chaotic?
No, I mean, I had more than half an hour. I'll say that, but I still also felt very rushed. I think everybody did because it's Roaring Skies expanded. No one knew what that meant. So I actually really wanted to test Garchomp. I just kept thinking that would be so good. It would like set up under Trevenant and like discard Seismitoad's DCEs, and you could even like Wally and Nagabite turn 1, but like I didn't have any of the cards for that, so I just went with my Seismitoad Garbodor again.
I was thinking about Garchomp too. I was like really interested in it, and then I thought of like everyone wants to play Archeops, and like if I play against one Archeops, I quit. I can't do this.
Yeah,
Right.
we had a couple Archeops. So
There were like 5 different styles of decks that incorporated Archeops. There was a Venusian Genesect with it. There was a Toadpup with it. There were like so many wild like ways to try to play it. The obvious Yveltal one, but like I didn't expect to see it that many different ways, and I played against like 2 or 3 of them, and I was like, cool. I have a 1/1 Slurpup. I don't give a crap what you do.
Yeah, I was really surprised.
Get through Garchomp, or get through Archeops?
What's
Is that
it?
Does
Well,
Evo get through Archeops?
It
Yes.
does.
Okay.
You need a shit ton of Evo Soda though to.
Yeah.
So does Wally though. So does Wally.
Yeah.
And with all of the other decks being like either like Wally into Trevenant or Seismitoad, which doesn't run evolutions, or Venusian Genesect, which doesn't run evolutions. I was just surprised anyone played Archeops, but it had a presence at Wisconsin as well.
Wow.
Well, you can throw it in for like 2 spots. Like Archeops, 1 like Maxi, and like it's not that big of a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
There weren't any in the top 8.
I think it was partially because you guys only had 15, like 30 minutes, and people were like less creative.
Well,
I know.
so I think Andrew is trying to purposely borrow an Archeops in front of me.
To level you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
No, people try to get crazy. Like,
He like hands it back to the guy who's borrowing it from. Wait until Frank looks at us. All right, now do it.
If you have a half hour, and then you do that to someone, and then they spend 5 minutes of their half hour thinking about it, like you've just wasted 6 of their time. Like it's precious time. It's Friday. Start doing that. I'm gonna make all kinds of like ridiculous trades. I'm gonna trade for 4 Evo Soda just at the beginning, just as soon as we get to Top Gun.
Estrada and his psychological warfare.
Oh. I feel like I would end up with a terrible deck, because I feel like my terrible ideas like slowly get weeded out like as the night goes on, and then I end up with a less terrible idea after like a day. But in like 15 minutes, oh man.
not really, man.
You might just start writing one of those ideas.
The Manetric Agislash, you literally woke up and were like, how's VG versus Manetric? And I was like, I don't know, you stomped the shit out of him. And he's like, okay, Manetric Agislash.
Well, I was like, I need to be fairy, so I'll put a metal guy in. And then you're like, how do you beat Trevenant? Pokemon Center, like, okay, we're good.
We're good.
But I don't know. I like whatever. There were so many bad ideas before that. I was like, I need to go to bed and I'll think of something better tomorrow. God knows what I would have played if they were like 30 minutes. I don't know. Does anybody else have anything to say about like regionals? Like, does anybody wish they like tested more? Like, regret anything or like?
Yeah, I regret playing Menetric Bats. That shit sucks. Oh my gosh. I tied 3 times. The first 3 rounds were ties. When I'm up with, I have 1 prize to their 6. Every opponent apologized. Like, wow. One round was Kling Klang, and he had like a 4-3-3 line of Kling Klang, and you just see me flipping bats and attaching bands, and like just swinging on him with like gold bats and crow bats to the bench. And so I actually took game 1. Game 2, he like barely squeezed out, and then game 3, he's like, "Oh, we're probably gonna end up tying," and I like start to snowball on him, and he only has 1 Klang Klang established with a Cobalion, and I have like 3 bats already made with another Zubat on the bench, and I just sit there and start missing scoop ups back to back, and then it comes down, it's like, "Oh, time's called," and my opponent looks at me, and he's like, "I'm sorry to win this way, man." I like apologize. He's at 6 prizes, I'm like 2 left, and all he has left on the field is like a Kling Klang. And he's like, "Oh, well, you know, that's part of the game. That's how it is now. I'm here." He said, "I'm here for play points so I can go to nationals." And he's like, "How many play points do you have?" And I was like, "Oh, fuck this dude."
Digging in.
Yeah. And I finally lost to Toad, which I should be doing, I guess. I mean, we play tested a little bit against it with Shaman, and I thought I would be able to pop off against it with Rock Guard, which I did. But now they started playing like 2 and 3 Zerosic. And didn't care at all. So, yeah, as soon as I took the 1 L after having 3 ties, I just dropped and watched everyone have fun screaming at Dylan for Dragonite all day.
Yeah. That was the one deck I didn't want to see.
I want to give a shout out. I'm probably going to, like, Hail Chow. Is that Meta? I hadn't heard the name before.
Frank, we have no idea. We have no idea what you're saying.
You're trying to give a shout out.
Yeah. Has anyone ever heard of Kale Chalafox?
Yeah.
I've heard his name.
I've seen his name.
Heard his name before. I met him at the regionals. We played last round, and like I was playing down, and we were like probably gonna tie. And like he had no way to get in, so he spoke to me, and so that was nice of him. He had no way to so he figured give me the chance. So
that's
cool.
Gotta mention.
I think we had like 3 or 4 people who just tied out during the final round. They didn't try to like manipulate the gameplay at all, or like try to roll or try to make agreements. They just sit there and they're like, "Okay, guess we tied," and then people just didn't make top cut.
Top 16, whatever.
So you don't like anything isn't worth the repercussions if someone tries to call you out on rolling, but doing overs up on prize, that's legal, that's doable. I've had opponents. When I suggest prizes, they'll be like, "Oh, we'll just kind of look at the game state and decide who's, and that's kind of sketchy to me. Like, oh, we're just gonna disagree about that."
Yeah, I agree with that. Looking at the game state is sketchy. What do you feel about like just playing a single game? Like, if you were playing a deck that's not very good at taking prizes game 3, and you feel like you're at a disadvantage, what if you're like, "Yo, what if we just play one game?"
What do you mean?
Like,
what do you mean by playing one game like this?
Like one player like concedes game 1 and one player concedes game 2, and you're like, "We'll just go straight to game 3." If you feel like it's a slow matchup, like Executor versus something, like the Executor player wouldn't want to play on prizes, but if you guys play 2 games, it's probably going to be a tie.
Oh no, I think at that point you just basically have to offer the coin flip and try to handle the repercussions because you're not getting anywhere with eggs. You're just gonna sit there and cry.
All right, that's fair. I don't know. I haven't been tying much, like, thankfully, but I don't know. I haven't been in that position, but I'm always afraid
until finals. Like every single game I played, I either got rolled or I rolled them. Like it was not a big deal to me. Time was never an issue.
don't know. Ryan's day 2 deck was cool. Ryan had Whaler. I like Whaler. I tested Whaler for the standard format, but it didn't work out.
It was good though. It tanked the Manetrics, and it did nothing else and just sat there and slowly whittled away.
All right,
Fun story about the offering the whatever it was the offer whoever was up on prizes. I actually had to make that deal with the Speed Lugia player, and he didn't take it. He didn't take it at first. I was like, whoever's up on prizes in game 3, because like I somehow managed to beat him in game 1. I don't know how, but I somehow managed to beat him. I'm playing Empoleon Magnezone. He's playing Speed Lugia, and he just gets turn 2 blowing up everything. So I make the offer in game 3. I'm like, hey, whoever's up on prizes in game 3 while we're shuffling, because I don't want to get a tie. I have to win. And he's like, let me think about it. And he's like shuffling. I'm like, dude, you blow me up for double the prizes. Like, it takes me until like turn 6 to start doing stuff. And he's like, you seem like a cool guy. I'll accept it. I'm like, oh, thank God I seem like a cool guy. Seems like a pretty good deal for you, but...
He was scared of the life too.
Alright, so since we're on the topic of tying and all this going on, how y'all feel about that Klaczynski slow playing? The Jason slow playing the finals? Supposedly what everyone's saying all over Burbank, because I didn't get to see it, but that blew up.
He knows how to play the clock, If you know how to play it, he played it all within the time limits. Like,
it seemed like legal moves. He was making timely legal moves.
Yeah, he was. He just put a consideration into every play, which is probably what I would have done. You're playing a terrible matchup. You have to win on time. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw it. But did you guys witness any of it, or like your opponents, or try to call anyone on it throughout your rounds? Or was it pretty, like, steady opponents? I mean, I had, like, 1 or 2 questionable guys, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm too nice, or I'm not on tilt enough to try and call them out for how long they're taking. Like, game 1 and 2, they're playing, like, moderate speed. They never check my grave once. They never check their own discard pile once unless they're looking to, like, VS Seeker. But as soon as game 3 rolls around, they all of a sudden want knowledge in, like, every single corner and every single side. And so, I don't know. I think it's kind of funny. I mean, from what everyone told me, I didn't play during the 1-game format, so apparently it wasn't as big of an issue. Everyone was complaining about getting donked more and begging for 2 out of 3. Now we have 2 out of 3 here, and now everyone's complaining about ties.
Yeah,
because they play faster. So
I was playing against Jose, and like we had both made cut already. Like we were both like in the last round, and we ended up playing our game 3. We literally had like I'm Groudon, and he's stuck behind a Wobbuffet. He can't do anything until he gets a Lysander, and we're just draw play. We had like 15 turns go in 2 minutes. Like it was ridiculously fast. I'm just throwing down, getting my Groudons ready, and like it was the opposite. Like he should have been waiting because he knew there was no way he was gonna win the game at that point, and he was giving me the opportunity. And I was like 2 turns away from actually being able to finish the game when they did call time. But like that's the kind of thing I look for. Like I've been seeing the other way, like where they just like, especially if you like respect your opponent and stuff like that. The scumgag guy, like that's the way it went for me. So, shout out to Jose, man, good man.
I mean, like even like when me and Kyle played, like in our game 3, like he like took a couple prizes with Quaking Punch, and I was playing Flygon. He could have just started like playing like slow as fuck, and I wouldn't have really been able to do anything. Which one of these trainers is the best? Well, like what can you do like in general? Like if somebody, like if like a new player is kind of like playing against somebody, and they do like significantly like change their pace of play, is there anything anybody could really do other than like ask them to speed up?
Or you can be that guy. Can you pick up your pace of play?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are just afraid to say that because they don't want to seem like an asshole or something.
Yeah, it's better. I think it's better to say pick up your pace of play instead of bring a judge over, because if a judge is over there, they get like 30 seconds to make their moves and stuff. Like they're still going to be taking a long time, and you're still going to be unsatisfied with the result.
Yeah, I think some people honestly, I mean, sometimes it might just be they feel like really pressured by the situation, so they maybe don't even realize that they're thinking for so long, and they're like, "Oh, sorry."
I usually like quote like the VGC. What's the matter, trainer?
I like that. I'm gonna steal that.
I've done that a bunch of times.
I think there are a lot of polite ways to ask someone, because I think most of the time they're not aware that they're taking a long time. They have a lot of decisions to make. I usually give them the benefit of the doubt, and I just tell them to please be conscious of the time constraints, since we don't want to have a tie. And but I actually didn't have a lot of time issues this past weekend. I only had 2 of my matches out of 14 rounds go to time. One of them was Ross. I got paired against Ross day 2, and there's like
Done.
You're like, all right, we're gonna tie.
No explanation needed. You can literally just say Ross and then start talking about the other game. Like,
I've never played him. Is he slow or something? Or he just takes his time? Oh, good God.
If you have like a room full of players who did well, like they're not going to have a lot of ties, like because like we did well, like we also didn't have ties. If we had had a bunch of ties, you know,
we wouldn't be here.
we'd not be having this conversation, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Gigantic pause. All right. So enough of the regional stuff, because honestly, most of that's gonna like be next to moot because of Trump card getting banned, which I think is fantastic for the game. So happy. I was ecstatic when I saw that. Like I think I was taking a nap and I woke up and everyone just spammed our group chat on Facebook, and then with like tons of links of whether or not it's official or not. But it just seems great. So like
I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed in like Pokemon Card Laboratories. I think that's still the name of the PCL is still the name of the people who make it over in Japan. Like, hey, you guys knew what you were doing when you print the Trump card. There's no way you print Trump and don't realize like what you're getting yourself into.
I mean, I think they printed Trump card, and then it was like, okay, this might be kind of broken. And then they printed VS Seeker, and now they're like, all right, now we can do this like a loop, and then Shaman to burn everything. I think it just got progressively worse, and maybe they didn't realize the repercussions until they started to see what they created. But I agree. Yeah. They should have had some kind of foresight, like Frank said.
Yeah, wasn't there part of their reasoning that they listed on the website that Trump card allows you to recycle powerful trainers? And like, that's what it does.
Yeah.
It recycles everything.
You're just telling us what the card does. You're not giving us a reason.
Like, how did you not know it was going to do that?
But you know what? That's also like a super reasonable thing. Like, if you go to like if you didn't know what Trump card did and somebody showed you Trump card, and you'd be like, oh, this is completely unreasonable. How could they possibly do that? This ought to be banned.
Yeah.
But I mean, we could have seen this coming. Why'd you print that? I think the best argument for it. I wasn't particularly happy about the ban. In general, I don't want to see bans in Pokemon that much. I think PCL has done a good job of printing cards that haven't been, that haven't needed a ban. Trump card does make rounds last a lot longer. Does make games last a lot longer. And so, there's the benefit, and I think that is a significant benefit to it. So, I don't have any choice. I'm going to go along with it.
Yeah. I refuse. I'm making my own tournaments.
Yeah.
You guys come over here.
Trump card's good here.
That Trump card's going to be in the Kozinski Open.
If Jason loves it, he gets.
Were any of you?
Everything just went whoop 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 for me.
Yeah, I
Simon's
couldn't
trying to
hear
say
anything.
something.
Yeah.
I was making a bad joke. Move on.
Alright, where are you going, Simon?
I was going to ask if any of you guys were actually expecting the Trump card ban at all. I didn't know that it was even, being
I
watched.
saw Aziz forecasted it. That was cool.
I knew
Yeah,
it.
that was
Called it a long time ago at Cities, but
Yeah.
I don't think anybody had any heads up. It just kind of got released.
No,
I saw
I saw the Japan thing, and then I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cute. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe in time for Worlds. Maybe we'll get that for us. And then they're like,
and then
no,
less than 24 hours later.
They stepped on the gas, man. They didn't wait.
Look, Japan, I figured they would do it for us at the same set release. So it's gonna come for Japan at about the time their next set comes out. I figured that that's when we would get it also. I didn't think we were going to get it from Matt's Worlds.
Yeah, but I mean, are you guys like happy about it, or just kind of like accepting what it is? I mean, like, do you think it adds more skill to the game, like, or do you think
Oh,
that
it
it
absolutely adds more skill.
Yeah,
Like
it definitely does.
the biggest thing that I haven't had to do in like a year is count resources. Like that's like the biggest thing that I ever have to do in matches. Just
I haven't even looked at my discard pile in months.
yeah, I don't care. Like I like in my finals game, for example, I put 4 DCs in his discard, and I'm like, all right, I win, right? And then he got a Zerosic, and I couldn't get a DC to keep my lock going. And then he got to use the Via Seeker, trump them all back in. I'm like, yeah. Like I thought I had game, and then he like dropped like his second Zerosic after I'd already seen a flare go around. I'm like, I would have won in any other matchup. We would have been fine. This guy would have no attacks, and he'd just be sitting there going, "Oh shucks," and then no, he just drops that on me. So it's just like there's another aspect to where like players that are way too aggressive now get punished for it, and I like that.
There's actually repercussions. You have to think about what you discard before you discard it, and you actually have to like step on the brakes, which is a good thing. You can't just go all in and just balls on the table. You actually have to be like, all right, let's.
You can't do that.
I mean, you can.
It helps.
Don't you tell me what you cannot do.
I do balls on the table for intimidation
You can still do
purposes.
it. Yeah, you can
But
still
yeah.
do it.
I mean, like one of the only good things I think about Trump Card were the fact that it could interact with your opponent's discard pile, so it's kind of like a soft counter to Flareon, Night March, Metal. I know a lot of people are afraid that those decks are just gonna run rampant. Do you think that Night March is gonna be like this unstoppable force come Nationals, or do you think that other decks become viable with the Trump Card ban?
A lot of people are going to play it. I don't know if it's going to become an unstoppable force, but a lot of people are going to play it. It's going to be really annoying to deal with because people are just going to be like, boom, turn 180, yeah! You're gonna be like, oh, great, this again.
I've already played against opponents that don't know how to manage their state without Trump Card, though. Like, they, like, discard 10 Night Marchers, and you're like, oh, okay.
I just killed 2.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, if they're going to try to keep up with Megas and try to reach that number, and then go down to like only 2 Night Marchers left in deck. If you're playing against anything with bats, or if they're able to get like Lysandre into a Via Seeker Lysandre, they lost. I mean, unless they can start playing 4 Revive, which I guess.
Yeah, there's Revive now, but like even then they'd have to draw it at the right time because they're gonna draw so many prizes that you can end them down and then you're good.
It also
It's definitely get better, but like dominant, I don't think so.
a losing trump card puts a lot of pressure on their DCEs as well. I've spoken to trump card players who said losing trump card makes them almost too scared to play Night March with like limited DCEs.
I mean, me and Kyle both played Night March at Florida, and we both made top 32 or whatever, and we didn't even play, or you didn't even play trump card.
No, I didn't play Trump.
So
like the only the benefit there is that you can do like the water energy dimensional valley, and you also have like Empoleon. Like you have other attackers like Flareon. You have Leafeon, and if Leafeon doesn't get away with a grass energy, if your DCs are gone and they just to go low energy count, you're not doing any damage. You lose.
Yeah, without trump card, I think Flareon takes the bigger hit because Night March you can attack with new water energy or something like that. Flareon's just like as soon as those DCs are gone, you're done.
Yeah, that or even like your Flareons. Because like if you open your opening hand, you have like double Flareon, Juniper, which I think you had against me, Kyle, at VA regionals. You're like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this, and you discarded I think it was like triple Flareon and a Leafeon on turn 1, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I still lost anyway, because Larry's gonna keep up once you like got to fire energy down. It was over.
Your deck was so shiny though.
Yeah, that shit sucked. So besides Night March, besides Flareon, and like that, I think that's just like the general community. They look at what's obvious and what's going to be effective the most, but can't like change or like adapt to what's going.
What is Frank doing?
He got home. You were at the pig roast? Yeah, Michael was just at a pig roast. I'm here. It's the Sabelhouses, Dylan Bryan, Simon Narode, and Russell. You wanna say hi?
Yeah.
He's got a name tag.
You better want to say hi.
He's got a name.
Stream. No, this is just like for like random YouTube video.
Hey everyone.
Yo.
I mean, Frank's on his phone, remember? There's only so much room in the frame.
Yeah.
He's on like a flip phone razor, like laying on his bed with his feet up. Hey guys! He's like,
Michael, come in here.
oh my God, Mike!
But yeah, besides Night March and Flareon, what do you guys think is going to be played by the general community? Like not necessarily you guys, but what everyone else is going to be playing.
I think everyone sees it as like Toad took like a huge hit and stuff, and I don't know if Toad's actually like bad yet. Without, I mean, it might be. It's gonna be worse, but I don't know if it's gonna be dead. Everyone's like, Toad's dead. It's gone forever. It's like, nah.
It's the variant of Toad.
As it did before, it'll still be the top deck.
It has to change itself. Like when I played Malamar, like that version of Toad can totally come back right now. Like with max potions and stuff, you can survive. You just manage your resources, and you don't have to go Toad lock every turn. You can go in with the Yveltal. You can do a Manectric attack. Like if you're playing a deck that can mix it up and not have to just rely on 30-30-30, and like hope that its item cards will get you the rest of the way. The items aren't going to get you the rest of the way anymore. You have to have other tricks.
You're not going to be able to do like beat a VG by like throwing 4 hammers at him at a turn.
Yeah, exactly. You can't sit there and pray with your dice. You gotta have an answer to it.
Yeah, I think that the decks that were weak to Seismitoad because of like item lock, like Empoleon, is not going to become suddenly viable or something like more so than it was before. However, like I think that Dragon Rayquaza had some issues when Toad could just like spam 3 or 4 hammers in a turn and then do it again next turn and then again. Like when you only have 4 hammers to work with, I think that decks that had that weakness to Toad can start to come back.
I'm sure some builds will just stop by with hammers and all.
Yeah, they'll just give up on it and just find a new route to disrupt or have a counter.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people were like hyping Donphan as well, because that was a deck with a sketchy Toad matchup when they could just reuse all the super scoop ups, and it also has the robo substitutes to turn into against Night March. So people were thinking that Donphan was going to come back.
I think secretly we just really hope Donphan comes back.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd be excited if Donphan came back.
I got to play a couple matches, and Donphan looks really good right now.
He's just like got his Donphan shrine set up in his room. He's like, we're coming back.
I was like, TCPI, thank you. This is the only thing that can save Donphan.
You did one thing for me, TCPI.
Oh no, I still don't think Donphan can make a comeback. Enhanced Hammer hurts too much. And with people talking about Night March and Flareon, like all these other decks, and then now that people are trying to experiment with Latios and Double Dragon's Energy, it's such a strong card. And then less Toad, so if your Enhanced Hammer can cover like 7 to 8 of like the expected field, then that's.
Let me dream for a month until Nationals.
All right, fine.
You're probably right.
Latios is just the most ridiculous deck. Have you guys heard about that or at all?
Latios what?
Latios is just a ridiculous deck in Japan because so you have all these plus powers because they're
in the first ticket and stuff. Yeah.
So you can play first ticket, and apparently different powers, so you can use them, and then you can play like 4 plus powers, and dancing machine power, trump card, and then play a bunch more plus powers, and it's like 180 turn 1. At their
I've heard about like crazy Latios turn 1 decks, but I never actually thought much about them because our format is so different than theirs. But it seemed kind of silly.
I just want to do that. I'm never going to get the chance.
Yeah, I played a Latios deck at regionals this past weekend. It was pretty fun. He was doing like 60. That was it.
Hit a muscle band?
Yeah, no, he hit massive damage for 60, and then just Groudon was like, yeah!
Okay, guys, my phone is going to die. For a while, should I leave and try to come back? Should I just leave and let you guys...
Oh, we're probably going to be done soon. I think it's been like a solid like 45 to 50 minutes already. I haven't kept track of them.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Thanks for coming on the show, Frank.
You're coloring out.
Canada story.
Oh, we got him.
I'm disappointed we didn't see Frank get excited more.
Yeah.
With the close up.
I figured like the Latios time would be a good call. Like 180 damage turn 1. That's pretty
I
exciting.
thought he was gonna zoom in. Wow.
Alright, he's gone.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything else that we really wanted to cover though, Russ? Or
I'm pretty sure that was that. We kind of ended with like trump card and slow playing and whatever is expecting him to see.
yeah, went over regionals.
The last part would be just for like you three. How do you guys approach playtesting into this new format? Because we would say like whenever a new set drops, it's just a crapshoot of what you're gonna run into. But
Yeah.
when you're an experienced player and you know it's efficient, because people try to make gimmicky things work, and then you play test it and you're like, all right, that was dumb. It doesn't even help. But then there's like rogue gimmicky that can, like, it has potential. Just like the Dragon Knight thing that that Dylan did this weekend. Like that was that's a super gimmick, but
Yeah.
he piloted it to an 8-1, so you can't say it's like too bad. Yeah.
Do you just test like all the archetypes that people are hyping and see which one is the best matchups and seems the most solid, or do you like jam like a bunch of gimmicky decks and like try and break the format? Or I guess like what's your approach?
I like to play like stuff that I had been playing before, and then occasionally we'll like most of the time we theory mon everything. Like we're just sitting there looking at our binder, trying to see like what can we do to make a deck better, what can we do to fix a matchup, and then occasionally that answer we'll just try to make a whole deck out of it. Like that's the way we'll go into like making a new deck like that. We don't just sit there and go, okay, let's make a deck with this thing. But like it's mostly like we're trying to take a deck and like see what can take it to the next level.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, I'll just sit there and you just think about different combinations of good archetype decks, and you just think of like different tech cards that can help with different matchups and what you're expected to see. Like, I don't know, maybe like a bunch of Toad decks, so you play like a Groudon deck or something.
Silly Ryan.
What do I know? But yeah, so I mean, we usually just look at the archetype decks, and you just kind of just add in a little bit of flair to help you with, matchups that you think you're going to see.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I guess I would say I do the same thing. I would add in that I also pay a lot of attention to what people are talking about online to get a sense for what like Nationals meta is going to look like. Because I think, especially at a large tournament like Nationals, people are just going to be grabbing things from the internet or from what they've heard, people hyping, and so I would pay a lot of attention to that to get a sense for what's going to be there. And like Kyle was saying, I also like look through my binder and just say like, oh, what can this card do, or like how can I keep all of the scans on my phone for like all legal cards. Like I have it like on here, and
Oh wow, that's like yeah.
and so I can like look at a card and be like, oh, like I remember this was printed, and or like how can I build with that? And I made like an album of like all like moderately playable cards that I would want to like break and try and figure out. And so when I'm on the subway on my way to work, like that's when I'm building decks.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's actually really good. We just kind of sit around and
We
what do you like? What do you like? I don't know. What's this card do again? That's legal, right? And we have to like look in like pkmcards.com or something.
Yeah.
I go through all the cards and I'll be like, none of these ideas work, and then I just go to sleep and I'm sad.
Oh.
No, you did that. You did 3 hours of Wailord drive down to Georgia. We're just like, man, all right, man, let's see. It does this. You can use rough seas. Let's go.
You can use their own rough seas against them. I was gonna hit and run with Gengar into Wailord, and then every single time they did 110, if I have like a max push, and I would just retreat the Wailord, be like, you want to put rough seas in play? That's gonna help Wailord. He's gonna live longer. But there's so much hype, and then 2 games, we were like, this is terrible. And then
You just weren't using Wailord right, okay? Trust me. All right, Wailord is the call.
Can I give a shout out to Blind Metas? Like, blind metas are my favorite thing right now. When we get to do like this week 3 and like go into like with a brand new set, I have kicked some major ass. In Florida we got to do it, and I set up well, and then I got to like top 16, and then we got to do it here in Georgia, and I got second, and now like we basically get a fresh restart with trump card gone. So now I get that for nationals, and I have buys. I'm excited. Like,
Yeah.
this is great for like players who are already experienced or already have like a general idea. Like you get a little bit of an advantage. Like players that are newer, they don't get to like go look at what did well. Like it doesn't matter what did well. We're in a brand new format. Like, so I love this.
Yeah, it really lets like people that know how to build decks and like strategize appropriately, or like you know like they like the you know like you said, the better player, and then like best deck builders, and then these like testing circles that are crazy, because you'll have some testing circles that are complete garbage, and then they don't know what they're coming out with, and they all perform horribly, and then they hop on whatever train the good circles were actually on for that format. And so people were trying to like blow up Dylan for the Groudon Dragonite list, or for whatever else did great this weekend, and you know people buying Raichus and Shaman left and right because they all wanted to play like what did well with Mahone's list and stuff. But now we got like same thing going into nationals, just like you said. I'm super excited, and I don't know. I don't think that all the players that performed well throughout the season that didn't manage their resources properly because we had trump card, they're like in for a
we're gonna watch so many
rude awakening. So many deck outs is about to happen, or so many. I just discarded 3 Junipers and lost the game because I got N down to 2. It's gonna be great.
Next one person out. They ran out of VS Seekers, and I didn't play trump card. We got down to the very end. I was like, this is so weird. This hasn't happened in years. Or like a year, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I decked a guy this past weekend. I did that.
Wow. There. I feel like this is still a thing.
This is because you have like 2 cards left in his deck. I'm like, trump card, like getting ready to shuffle. And he's just like, I scoop. Let's go to game 3. I'm like, whoa, what is going on?
Sometimes people just discard their last VS Seeker and they forget about it. It's tough to manage those resources.
It's tough to look for one card with all these 4 VS Seekers that I'm playing.
But I don't know. I think with like the whole like new format, like older players having like an advantage or experienced players having an advantage, I think that just goes to show that newer players should try and put more of an emphasis on deck building rather than trying to test all the lists that they read in articles and then just try and find out which one they like the best. Like trying to think about the thought process behind and like understand the reader's thought process behind why they chose those cards. That way, when a new set comes out, they can try and apply that thought process to the new set. Exactly. Instead of always being like one step behind.
Yeah, like you're
people that are looking to get better.
Skip ahead to I want to win now instead of like you should try to win later. Like I understand that you want to win right now, but like if you don't understand any of the concepts behind it, you're not going to know what to do when you get up there, and then you're going to have a struggle staying up there. So try to figure out the concepts, and then you're good.
Yeah. And like those are the better questions to ask. Then a lot of people are just like, oh, send me a list. But like this list won regionals, but like if everybody's gonna hop on the same train, then this list is gonna be one step behind. Like people have to like be like, oh hey, like I don't know, like ask the right questions, not just like hand me a list. Hey, I'm trying to beat this and this with my deck, but I'm struggling with this. What should I do better?
Yeah.
And when they start asking those questions, then they're gonna start getting better themselves, just thinking in a different way. Like I had people ask me what Dragonite I was running. I was like, if you stop and think about it for a little bit, which of the 3 Dragonites that are legal would pair with the best with Groudon?
the bustin', man. You gotta get Groudon out of there.
Yo, okay, get serious, Russell. When we were sitting there and we were about to turn our deck list, and
dude,
you're like,
I fucking told you. I told you it was so good.
Like, yo, you're gonna love the card he added in. I'm like, Dragonite? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, yeah, bustin' Dragonite EX. Wait a second. What? That doesn't make any sense. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay. So we can like run away and you can't get attacked or something. I'm like, no, you just play switch cards. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. I'm like, I didn't think about it. And then I was like, okay, oh, the healing one. That probably makes more sense than just running 4 fat Dragonite EX to just run in and done. It's a switch card.
Dragonite takes the hit and then Dragonite EX playing top.
I didn't think. Yeah.
The same exact moment, Canaves was like sitting there flashing his Wailord at us. He's like, look at him playing today, boys.
Yeah, he was just,
And then I was like, oh, yo, Dylan wanted to make that work. It's the irony.
So bad.
Simon, do you have anything else, man?
No, I don't think I do.
Cool.
Okay. I mean, I guess we're ready to wrap up then.
Yeah. Before we go, make sure you guys check out the Sabelhaus stream. For some reason, they didn't feel like plugging it in at any point.
You know what?
But
Stable stream.
yeah.
Little stream.
Yeah.
All right. Do you guys have any more shoutouts?
This was fun, man.
This was fun.
Good. Hopefully we can do more. Hopefully this one pops off. I mean, even if we don't get viewers or subscribers, I really don't care about that. I'm not trying to make money.
I want to do this. So.
Yeah, I pretty much just want to do this, get everyone together, and just have all this talk. But,
I like.
Yeah. All right, Simon.
Yeah,
Any
better
shoutouts or
than just-
anything?
No, I don't have any big shoutouts right now. I really like this though. I'd love to do this again.
All right,
Hopefully
awesome.
Frank gets a better phone.
Yeah, let's all pitch in to get Frank a good phone.
One of those Kickstarter pages. When
Yeah.
everybody is like, send me the world, we're like, get Frank a phone.
We have to screenshot when he took his face like completely up to the mic, and that'll be the profile picture.
Make it the thumbnail, yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Gotta think of a clever caption for that, but should be.
Yeah, so we're probably gonna have these weekly, if not bi-weekly, and we were trying to get cute and say like make it like a weekly Chatot, and then like
Yeah.
and then of course we have like Wailord Wednesday after Tinder Tuesday.
I like that.
We're gonna play around with that.
I like Wailord Wednesday.
Hmm.
When decks are making a splash or whatever.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was like it's like the decks that are riding the current waves because of the wind.
Throw fat stacks of information.
Oh
Lord.
All right, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and finish off the stream. Have a good night.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks for coming.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming.